Hi, everybody. Welcome, everyone. This is Michael with Marks Group Live. I'm happy to be reviewing today Getting Started with Zoho Projects. After this video is over, please feel free to email us at support@marksgrouplive.com for any questions on this topic or on anything else Zoho. Also, be sure to rate this class as well, helping out your fellow Zoho users and helping us to improve our video library. Now in this class, we're going to be looking at Zoho Projects. This is a project management system, or project management information system strictly, that can help you to plan, track, and evaluate the progress of your projects. By strict project management rules, this is a tool for helping with your work breakdown structure, with your activities, and your durations. So it's an excellent planning tool. Let's see, today in this very short session, we only have a bit of time today, so we're going to get straight into it. We're going to look at how to find the Zoho Projects application. We're going to look at some of the features and price points, looking at differences between the different plans. We're going to be looking at setting up a new project. We're going to create a milestone, a task list, and a couple of tasks, and then we're going to work a task so that you get a sense for some of what we can do with Zoho Projects. Now, before we get into our Zoho screens, I do have one word of advice, or two words of advice, I should say. If your screen doesn't look exactly like mine, do not panic. Your Zoho instance might be set up differently from mine, and there may be a few differences across some of the screens. Most of what I demonstrate today should work out well across all versions of Zoho with minimal differences. If you're trying to replicate what I'm doing on the screen and you run into troubles, you get stuck, drop us an email at support@marksgrouplive.com and we'll see what we can do to help you out. So first things first, how to find it? It's at projects.zoho.com. That's the easy part. So once you're there, you'll probably see a screen that looks a little bit like what we have off to the right there, where it says, Welcome TMG Live Admin. Now, let's take a look at the pricing options. As with many other Zoho apps, let me go here, right. As with many other Zoho apps, there's a free version as well as a few paid versions. There are different price points that offer different features. If you're just getting started in project management, or if you know that you have modest needs for a given project, I would actually start off with the free plan and work my way up to more features as my work demanded them. So this is what you've got in the free plan. You've got 5 users, 2 projects, integration with Google Apps, calendars, forums, and the ability to attach files up to 10 megs. By contrast, the standard version gives you, that's the one off on the left side there, the standard version gives you 10 projects, 10 users, much larger files, and much more professional control over scheduling. The standard package also includes or also provides integration with Zoho CRM, which is a really good feature to have. Unless you're running a very simple project or you happen to be using a more sophisticated system in tandem with Zoho Projects, I suspect that the premium version, the one that they've outlined in yellow there, is the one that you're going to start with if you're a professional project manager, because it has task dependencies, it has budget controls, much larger file sizes, and the resource utilization chart, which is incredibly helpful in terms of managing your resources, particularly your human resources. And of course, the enterprise version is what you'll be using if you need all of what Zoho can do in project management. Let's go over to Zoho Projects, set up our first project there. As I do this, I'm going to be using an example from one of my publishing projects where coming up very soon, we need to create a second set of resources that we're calling B2. So let me go here, click on that. We've already looked at how to find Zoho Projects. We've looked at features and price points, and now we're going to set up a new project. Now, we've already done some work in our Zoho Projects, which is why our home screen looks the way it does. Yours may look similar Again, the work that we're doing today, you shouldn't have a problem with different visuals. So I'm going to go to Projects, and I'm going to create a new project. Like almost all Zoho apps, you make a new one by clicking the New button off on the right side there. So here's our project. I'm going to set the title as Create B2. Let me set the owner as TMG Live Admin. The template is a nice feature which you may or may not have in the free version. Actually, I think the free version might have them as well. My start date will be May 1st. My end date will be May 31st. There we go, there's May 31st. Now I'm going to leave strict. It says make this a strict project. I'm going to leave that unchecked, and here's the difference that it makes. When we say that a project has strict dates, that means that we cannot schedule tasks, issues, milestones, and other events outside of project dates. My publishing project doesn't need to be so tightly controlled, so I'm going to leave that button unchecked. We need to create the B2 project and get the file to the printer. Also need confirmation from the printer that the file is received and can be printed. All right. I'll leave the project overview by default. I'll leave that unchecked for the time being because there are other projects that we have here. Now, the reason I typed some text in the project overview is because it's a good idea, almost always, to document your work as thoroughly as time permits, and maybe even a little bit beyond that. The standard layout, we'll just use that until we know that we have a reason not to. The group name, this is a handy feature if you happen to have groups. The reason that we like having groups is if you have several projects going simultaneously, that allows you to control information access so that only those members in your organization who need to see what's happening on this project will be able to look at that. The free version of Zoho gives you two or three projects simultaneously. The paid versions start to give you a little bit more than that. And in fact, I think in the premium and the enterprise, you may have unlimited simultaneous projects. I'm going to leave the billing status under the budget section. I'm going to leave the billing status. I'm going to leave that undone for the time being. I'm not going to fill that out. But I will say that the billing method, based on staff hours, I'll leave that as it is, as its default. And the default billing status will be billable. One of the reasons I like to have leave the default billing status to billable is that it assumes that everybody's time is valuable, and you would make an exception when there is time that is spent that is not billed. This way, it's the other way around. Oh, sorry. This way, when you're billing something, you're assuming that people's time is valuable. If you set it as non-billable, that means you actually have to explicitly state it or establish when an hour that is spent by one of your operatives is billable. All right. I'm going to leave the project account. I'm going to leave those fields undone for the time being. Let's look at Rollup. Let's focus on Rollup for a moment. This allows you to aggregate time estimates. So while this might be convenient, it is also somewhat limiting. You can look at the Learn More and get specific details on what features are enabled or disabled when you use Rollup, the Rollup function. I actually suggest you run one project with it and one project without it to see whether this is a feature that works well with your workflow. A bit farther down, Zoho suggests tabs for this project. Until you know better, I'd suggest leaving all of those on. In fact, you can't turn off the dashboard and the feed tabs. Finally, we get to the project access option. In the first option, people who have access to this portal can view and follow along with projects that they're involved with. That's the private option. In the public option, users of this system have the ability to add comments. For now, I'll leave it to private and hit add to finish setting up this project. So there's my project name, Create B2. And we see that the start date is May 1st, end date is May 31st. And I can show the project overview. There's the project description. So this dashboard may be helpful to you if you have a large number of projects. You might want to show the project overview so that you remember the nature of the projects, or the quick overview of the project that you happen to be focusing on. So my next step in Zoho Projects, because this is supposed to be a fast dive, a fast and shallow dive. My next step, after I've created a project, I'm going to create a milestone. A milestone is a major event in the evolution of my project. Zoho describes it here as it helps you get a clear vision about your project and delegate work effectively. So I'm going to create a new milestone. I like to work backwards from the deliverables, the final deliverables, back to where I am at the present. And the last thing I'm going to do in this project, the last milestone of my project, is for me to get the file sent over to our printer. And that's going to happen on May 31st. Let's go to May 31. That's going to both start and end on May 31st. Actually, what I'll do is I'll hope that we start that task a week before. So I'll just go with Monday, the 27th of May. I will retain responsibility for that. Now, we've set this to be an internal milestone. The alternative, of course, is for it to be an external milestone. An internal milestone is one that is visible only to the client. Sorry, an external one is visible to the client. An internal milestone is only visible to project users. In this particular project, this is an internal project, and so all of the people who are working on it are actually working in this organization. So we are, in a sense, we are our own client. So I'm going to leave that as internal. The milestone is deliver finished file to the printer, confirm receipt of usable file. I'm going to add that milestone. Now, Zoho invites me to set up a task list. This is a series of actions that will end with the completion of the milestone. So these are things that I have to finish in order to hit that particular milestone. I'm going to add my task list to be associated with this milestone, and the task name list will be prepare file for printing and send. I'm going to leave it associated with the current milestone. So I can actually, when I create a task list, I can associate it with other milestones in my project. I can assign templates, and I can assign project templates as well. I'm just going to leave things as their defaults. There's add task list, and there's my task list. When I click on this, there are tasks. Now, so having created the task list, Zoho now says, would you like to add tasks? So in terms of the overall structure of what Zoho is allowing me to do, let's go here. So in terms of the overall structure of what Zoho does, I can create a list, I can create a project. Within the project, I can have milestones, and within milestones, I can have task lists, and tasks lists have tasks associated with them. So there's this multi-layered structure here, where what we're doing is we're breaking down a big task into progressively smaller tasks. Let's go back to here and let me make sure I'm in the right window. There's my correct window. All right. Now, one of the nice functions here is that I can actually create tasks via email. I can also create issues via email. It's a nifty feature. We're not going to look at it at this time, but it's there. So you could actually email this to people, and you can email this email address to people, and that way, when they write an email, that will result in a task being created. So let me use the computer method for now. I'll add a task. And let's see, I'll create a couple of tasks at this point, since we're almost essentially at the bottom of our hierarchy. So, perform final spell check. Make sure we don't have any stray letters. I could add an attachment. I'll set myself as the owner of the task. The start date, let's say that we will begin this task on Monday. The due date is Wednesday. Priority is medium, I suppose. Now, instead of having to go back through, a quick way to add a task is to click on the Add More button. This just simply gives me another task. Zoho briefly pops up an alert saying it has created that previous task correctly. Let's see. Let's see what else I've got. Export file to PDF. Again, that's me. Actually, let's make it me. You can have multiple people. As you can see, you can have multiple people responsible for a task. And export file to PDF. We'll say that that's going to happen on Wednesday. Right there. Now, I can set a due date, or I can enter a duration. And I can measure the duration in days or in hours. So let's say that this task is going to take 1 hour. I can also set a reminder, which is a nice function, so that I can set a reminder on the same day. Actually, no, let's do it 1 day before. If we scroll through this list, you can see I have a large number of options here for reminders, but I'll set a reminder for 1 day before. And again, our priority is medium. Let me add one more task. Next task name is upload. No, actually, here it's move folder to archive. Save on the NAS. Task owner, me. Start date will be the 30th. Actually, I'll roll that back 1 day. Start day will be the same day that I did the previous task. Here I'm going to go for the 30th. That is a high priority task. And one more thing I'm going to do, upload to printer, get confirmation. All right. This would be an excellent location or an excellent opportunity if I'm documenting this task for other people, for the sake of other people to be able to replicate my work, or to have documentation of our process. One of the things that I might do is I might put down the URL that I need, or specific technical steps that I have to carry out in order to upload the file to the printer, or any of our tasks here. The more we document them, the better we will be, or the easier it will be for people who are coming after us to replicate what we're doing, and for us to document what we're doing for the sake of our clients and our supervisors. So this has to happen on This has to happen. This could begin on the 30th, but it certainly has to happen by the 31st. And priority is high on that. I'll click on the Add button. And now, here's what I've got. This is the detailed view of that particular task. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to close this window. There we go. Prepare file for printing and send. That was our task list. Let's go back and look at this milestone, which is deliver finished file to the printer. Let's go back one more step. This is all milestones. Here's our B2 project. Here's our B2 project. We have one active milestone. That's the task list. Deliver finished files to the printer. Confirm receipt of usable file. There's our task list right there. I could also add issues and release notes. I can add additional task lists. I'll click on that task list. And right now, I'm going to work. Let's see. Here we go. I'm going to work one of these tasks. So I'm going to perform our final spell check. Right there. There's my task. Now, I could mark this task as closed. I could mark it as check in. I could mark it as, I can actually add, I'll show you in a moment how to add statuses to that. I can manually set the percentage. What I'm going to do right now, though, is I'm going to say that I did the task. I'm going to log hours. Remember, we're billing for our time here, and that's a good thing. Now, I'm going to say completed with 3 mistakes found. So I can set the start or the end time, but there's my time log for this particular event. Now, it does say it's not allowed for future dates, which means that you can't actually work a task before the task is, well, you have to, I can work a task, but I can't set my work for a future date. So here are my time options. I can do 2 with a colon and the numbers 50, which indicates 2 hours 50 minutes. I can do a colon with 35, that means 35 minutes. I can do 0.5, which is 30 minutes. So this simply uses decimals. Decimals if you have a decimal point, and it uses actual minutes if you have a colon there. So I'm going to say that this took me 54 minutes to do. The default status right there is billable. I'm going to log my hours there. Now, and so there's my time log. I can actually add more log hours if somebody says to me, hey, I want you to check that again. Did a second check for the boss. And what we'll do is we'll say that that second check took 12 minutes. Actually, let's say it took a quarter of an hour. Again, we're billable. So now it's showing me 15 minutes there, 54 minutes there. So it's 1 hour and 9 minutes altogether for this task. And I'm going to set this to closed. I'm going to set it to closed, so the completion percentage immediately goes to 100%. And now we've got a line through it indicating that we have closed this task. I could click on these other tasks to work on those. Right now I'm going to close this window. And here we go, closed. Those might be regarded as open or pending. Let me do this. The status. Let me see if I can find that. All right, let's go back to here. All right. So what we've just done, let's review what we've done today. Oopsie, wrong screen. There we go. So today in our session, let me go back to this screen. There we go. So here's what we've done today. We looked at how to find the Zoho Projects application, which is to say we went to projects.zoho.com. We looked at features and price points for the different versions. We set up a new project very quickly. We created a milestone. We created a 1 task list and 4 tasks, and then we actually worked a task to show what it's like to make progress through it. I did all of this on my own. In your organization, if you're working on a project, it's highly likely that you'll be working with other people where you have multiple people who are working on different tasks. You may be setting up all of the projects and having other people do all the work, or like an awful lot of project managers I know, you may actually be the one doing work alongside with the people that you're managing. That is all that we've got today for this session on the Zoho Projects application. I do hope that you've enjoyed this video. Check out our video library for other training videos like this one. And if you have any questions or suggestions for other classes or questions that you may have about Zoho, email us at support@marksgrouplive.com. Thanks for viewing.